Hello everyone and welcome to today's deck profile. Today we're going over a deck that a dear friend helped me put together called the Ancient Warriors. These, if you ever played Fire Fist, are just a more advanced version of Fire Fist, where they're all beast warriors that have the effect to send a card from hand or field to the grave to get an effect off. However, these have continuous spells that actually activate when they're sent to the grave. So without further ado, make sure you leave a like, comment down below what deck you'd like to see me do next, and as always, subscribe. And without further ado, let's hop into the deck profile. Starting off with 3 copies of Ancient Warriors Masterful Sun Mu. I will apologize if I mispronounce any of these names, but I am going to try my best. Sun Mu has the effect that while you control another Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. Then it does have a hard once per turn on the following effects. You can send a card from hand or field to the grave to add an Ancient Warriors monster from deck to hand. And if another Ancient Warrior effect is activated, target a card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. This is one of your best starter cards in the deck. You get to him and you can get to the rest of your boss monsters. And another good starter is Virtuous Lu Yong. Lu Yong's effect is, while you control another one, they can't target this card for attacks, and then it has a hard once per turn on the effect that if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, send one card from your hand or field to grave to special one from deck, except for Lu Yong. And when an attack is declared involving another Ancient Warriors monster, draw one card. So these are your 2 main starters for the deck. They really allow you to get your searches, get your big monsters from deck. And one of the searches you do off of your Masterful Sun Mu is Ingenious Zhu Kong. When it's added from your deck to the hand by the effect of an Ancient Warriors card, automatically special summon it. When a spell or trap is activated, you can send an Ancient Warriors continuous spell or trap to your grave to negate the activation. And when a monster effect is activated while I control Lu Yong, you can negate the activation. So this is your negate on the board, but usually, unless you're going first, you don't want to leave him up. This is a going second deck focused around kind of punching over your opponent's monsters, which we'll get into with the main deck and honestly boss monster of the deck, Rebellious Lu Fang, or as I like to call him, Chad. He can only be special summoned by controlling the highest attack Ancient Warriors on the field, even if it's tied. Which you're rarely going to play an Ancient Warriors mirror match, so you're usually going to get him on the field pretty easily. During the main phase, quick effect, destroy one monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, but you can't activate other monster effects the turn you activate this effect. Once per turn, during the end phase, if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack, give control of this card to your opponent. Really holds in the rebellious part of his name. Then for a 2-of, we play 2 Loyal Guan Yin. He is a Cyber Dragon for the deck. If your opponent controls a monster, special summon him. Then your opponent cannot target other Ancient Warriors you control with card effects. And if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, destroy one monster they control. So, honestly, great starter card. Then for the 1-ofs, we play 1 Fearsome Zhong Yuan. At the start of the damage step, if an Ancient Warriors battles, you can special summon this card from hand, and that opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack. And if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy one other card your opponent controls. Great card. He's usually the last search you do in your regular combo. But overall, it's just a great card for the last beat over. Then finally, we do play 1 Dawn Ying effect. If you control level 7 or higher Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent has to play 400 life points to activate a card or effect. So it's just a tiny version of Masquerade. If this card is normally special summoned, you can add a level 7 or higher, or a continuous spell from your deck to your hand. That is Ancient Warriors, of course. And if a monster is sent to your opponent's grave, target one card in your opponent's grave, banish it, draw one card. 1 Zhu Gong. Target a continuous spell you control, send it to the grave, add an Ancient Warrior spell or trap from deck to hand. If an Ancient Warrior's effect is activated, send an effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects. And Zhongdae, if you control 2, you can special summon it. And if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, this card can attack twice. These are all the ones that you'll search out through your combo. You rarely go for Zugong, but the rest of these really help you go in for game. Moving on to the spells, we play 3 copies of 3 Visits. During your main phase, if you normal or special summon an Ancient Warriors, you can target one of them, add one with a different name from deck to hand. And if this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the grave, special one from your hand. And, of course, it has the effect that after your second standby phase of its activation, you can send it to the grave, but it's rarely going to stay up that long. Next up, we play 3 copies of East by South Winds. This card has to be sent to your grave the second standby phase after activation. And once per turn during your main phase, flip a coin. If it's head, send this card to grave. If it's tails, it stays. And if this card is sent from the field zone to the grave, your opponent cannot respond to any of your Ancient Warriors, so you're effectively protected through the rest of your combo. And then it gives all the Ancient Warriors on the field, when it's sent, the effect that when that monster declares an attack, destroy one card your opponent controls. And then, of course, we play 3 Pot of Extravagance. You're rarely going into the extra deck, other than your Link monsters, so it's free Pot of Greed. 2 Deception and Betrayal. Special summon an Ancient Warriors from hand by taking damage equal to its level times 100. You can send this card from the face-up spell and trap zone to the grave, target a Ancient Warriors monster on the field, change it to any attribute. Then, if you target it an opponent's monster, take control of it. So this is honestly just a good way on the chance that they have control of your Lu Fang, you can get it back. But, once again, you're rarely going to need that second effect. Then, of course, they're all Beast Warriors, so 2 Tenki. Then for the 1-ups, we play 1 Borrowing of Arrows. When it's activated, you can target your opponent's monster and one of your monster. Your monster gains attack equal to half of the opponent's monster's attack, and your opponent has its attacks halved. Then if this card is sent to the grave, you can set 1 Ancient Warrior spell or trap from your deck face up. We play 1 Raigeki. It's really in here because after you've gotten all the effects off where your opponent has to control monsters, it's a great way to either A, bait and negate, or B, just ensure that you're going to be able to beat over everything for game. 1 Harpies to get rid of some pesky back row, and Change of Heart. It's kind of a troll card, but it's also there to make sure that your opponent doesn't have enough monsters on board to live, because this is an OTK-based deck. And moving on to the traps. We play 3 Imperm, because this is a going second deck, so you don't want your opponent to have too much, and, of course, getting a few negates in on their turn is helpful. And finally, Defense of Changban. This is the target for your Borrowing of Arrows that you would set face up. It gives all of your Ancient Warriors an Ancient Gear effect, where when they battle, spell and trap cards cannot be used until the end of the damage step. It also has the effect that if your opponent monsters battle, send this to the grave, and your opponents cannot target Ancient Warriors for attacks this turn, meaning they just can't attack. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, banish this card from grave to special Ancient Warriors from your deck. Now moving on to the extra deck, we play 3 Double Dragon Lords. This is one of those cards that actually has effects that nobody knows about because it was only ever played in Trabigate. But all Ancient Warriors gain 500 attack and defense. On its summon, you can add an Ancient Warriors card from deck to hand. And then quick effect, send 1 card from hand or field to the grave, target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Overall, it's just a great way to kind of get halfway through your combo, clear up the board a little bit, and have interruption. Great card. The rest of the extra deck, I'm going to be honest, does not really matter. If you want to play good stuff, I would recommend rank 4s, Utopia packages, maybe a small train package. You don't really need an extra deck. I play Elemental Heroes because I refuse to actually use heroes in any capacity, so I feel like this is the best way to still play the ones that I own as extra fodder. So, anywho, hope you all enjoyed the deck profile. Make sure to leave a comment on what deck I should do next. Thanks for watching.